the FNL Network talk show.
Hi, everyone. So it's been an exciting week. I'm just going to dive right in. I'm happy to be the question asker. And the news has been quite exciting with Biden stepping down, presumably over concerns over his age, his cognitive abilities. And what I would like to know from each of you is if you think there's going to be another surprise, or you think it's going to be the likely candidate, Kamala Harris. Who do you think it's going to be? So who should we start with?
That's 100% up to you.
All right, let's start with you, Corey.
All right. I think the likelihood is that it'll probably be Kamala. That's the likelihood. I think whoever's stepping into it, it's going to be a lot for them. And it could be a sinking ship at this point in time. So some of them, like the one that we are worried about, Newsom, out here in California, we are not fans. And basically, if he takes over as president, or if he tries to take over as president and he does it in this short amount of time, the likelihood of whoever stepping in losing is pretty high at this point, I think. And so whoever that is, I think a lot of them now are going to kind of step back and be like, maybe I'll wait it out until the next time. So that's what I think is going on. I think they're gonna let her, because she's already in on it. She's already part of this. So I think that's probably going to be their choice, but that is literally just a guess, a shot in the dark, because I'm not really sure. They got a lot of work to do. But it's interesting because I was looking at something the other day about how a lot of other countries, including like Mexico, they'll do this entire process in like a month or two. And in the United States, it's kind of a 2 to 3 year long process of us kind of vetting out who's going to be here. And it's this really, really long process. And now everybody's scrambling because they're like, 3 months isn't enough time. And it's just funny because a lot of other countries I've seen do the entire thing in that amount of time. It's not unheard of. But the way we run things, that's not much time in this country in the way that we operate. So I think it's going to be a dangerous, burning ship, if you will, for whoever's stepping onto it. And I think a lot of them may wait it out and maybe wait for the next time. I don't know. Depends on how desperate to not have Trump. I mean, that's another aspect. They may, because they may try to push someone in who they think's gonna really have a chance to beat him. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been very competitive from the beginning, the nomination process for the Democrats. But what do you think, Geoffrey?
I think Kalama, I think she's going to take over because she's the next going to be in position. But just like he said, I think it's going to be a lot of pressure on her because she has to be able to figure out how to take the United States for the little bit of time that she's there to the level that it needs to be taken to. So I think that she's going to take over, but it's not going to be good because it's in the middle of actual transition. So, yeah.
David, do you have any?
Well, I think the whole process is going to be tough anyways. I think regardless if you like Trump or not, I wouldn't want to go up against the guy right now. I mean, he's got a lot of support. He's tough to fight against. I don't think they have time for it. To be honest with you, Kamala, in my opinion, is not as good as Biden was. I think Biden might have been the best person to argue with Trump when he could, or debate with Trump. And I say that in a way of because Trump likes to go after people. He can be a complete ass and just really just lock in on somebody. And I think half the time Biden didn't even know he was attacking him. So it worked out for him, if you can understand what that means. But for the most part, I think Kamala is going to be the one. I heard recently, it might have been a rumor that they were talking about Hillary coming in. I saw on my X feed today a lot of people saying they're going to support Kamala, and they want Obama's wife to be the VP. I personally, as a person in general, from the history of what I know about and what I've seen her and the way she talks, I just don't see how she can beat anybody right now. I think it's too late. but she's probably the best bet they have for the Democrats because she's in Biden's back pocket. She knows what she's doing. She's helped, or at least they say she's helped write some of his policies or been part of the policies. She's in his profile. She knows what to expect. I just don't know. I think it's too late in the game. Either way, I think whoever goes up against Trump right now is gonna have a hell of a time. And this country is based on checks and balances, and so every 4 years we have a new president, and we just go this way, and then we go that way, and then we go this way, and we go that way. It'd be nice if, as of a country, we can stop with this drama that we've been watching. It's been an absolute dramatic. I feel like I'm watching Dallas and I don't know all the episodes because I refuse to watch them all. And it's like every day I hear something new. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I heard something today that was ridiculous. And I'm like, you know what? Once I see the actual report, then I'll put my 2 cents. In the meantime, so many people can put some whatever bullshit they want to put up on the internet, and everybody reads it and everybody believes it because we're a country right now that social media runs our world. And the first thing we see is the information. I remember 5, 6 years ago, and heck, even 3 years ago, telling my students, if you're getting all of your news from Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat or TikTok, you're in for a whole world of hurting. Unfortunately, you can't even get into you can't tap into our own news media outlets. You can't trust CNN, you can't trust Fox, you can't trust anybody because everybody has their own take, their own bend. I used to sit on the treadmill, and I probably said this before. I used to sit in the treadmill at the gym, and I'd sit right between the Fox channel and the CNN channel and just sit there and look at them both and go, which one do I actually believe? Or can I take an intelligent, or I can learn from what they're saying and just make an intelligent assumption of what's actually going on here. I just don't feel like anybody tells us the truth anymore. I'm a huge conspiracy theory when it comes to the Kennedy assassination. So I'm very, very adamant when it comes to, I don't trust anybody. I don't know who to believe. I don't know who to think, but I think Kamala is going to be the one they're going to go for. I agree with Corey. There's too many Californians and too many people outside of California that they absolutely do not want Newsom. And I think that it's too early. I think if Newsom gets into it now, he's going to get annihilated just because of the fact that the rest of America. I just got back from Texas, and a lot of people out there in Texas, I didn't really get into it, but I was hearing them talk. I've heard, some Canadians on my European trip where I just overheard their conversations, and they're hating their what they call it, their prime minister, and talking about how America keeps, doing the same crap. And it's just like everywhere we go, I'm just starting to realize that we need to get started in November and see where this country is going to go and fix things or polish it up or do something. Because right now, I would hate to be a Democrat because I don't think they have anything to support, and there's nobody that's going to really be strong enough for them. They don't have a strong candidate. If I was watching a boxing match right now, I'd be upset that it looks like it's going to be a landslide fight. So I don't know. We'll see.
So what do you say to that, Sasha?
Well, I agree with David that it's like so dramatic right now. Like everything is like, what is going on? It's like, as you say, like Dallas, like for me, I'm like, I really don't know what to think anymore. And I don't know what to expect anymore. Like everything is now just a surprise, as I said before, like I come from Denmark and I've been here for like over 9 months now. And this election has become almost like a reality show. And it's becoming kind of, with the whole shooting as well, I think it's horrible. I don't know what's going on. I think that's not fair at all. And, I think that, yeah, you can say you don't agree with him, but shooting him, come on. Like, I think that everything has just become so grotesque. And as I said before, I think it's important that Biden, he is not continuing for the election. And I think that was really good that he would withdraw. And I think that Kamala, she's gonna do maybe good. I don't know if she's gonna go up for election, and as it seems like right now for the Democrats, I think that it could be a good option for her to maybe show herself in a different view. Like I think that Biden, it has maybe become also kind of a shit show for them both. And maybe she can turn it around. Maybe she's better by herself. I don't know. I just think that right now, as it seems, as it continues now, I think that Harris, Kamala, how do you pronounce her name?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala.
Kamala. Okay, because I was like in doubt because some say Kamala and Kamala, and yeah. So Kamala Harris, I think that she could be a really, really good candidate, because she's a woman, and I think that it could be interesting to have a female president. And I think that in some ways she could contribute with kind of a different perspective that we've seen before. And we've seen the former president Trump being a president, and I think that it could be interesting to see Harris being the president. But at the same time, I don't know what's gonna go on. It just seems so weird. And yeah, I do believe that things will happen, and eventually it's gonna be a tide. Like I think there's a lot of women, female voters, Black women, Black men that's gonna vote for Harris. And I think a lot of people in general that believe in the rights for your own body and well-being, they're gonna vote for the Democrats, and they're gonna vote for Harris. So I think she's gonna get a lot of voters, more than actually we would expect. So that's my point of view right now.
Not to interrupt, I meant to say this. Something I realized today, and this bugged me because, first of all, I mean, I don't really, I'm not a fan of Biden. I don't care. But I think when I worked in an Alzheimer's facility for a long time, not saying he has it. I can tell and recognize when an elder person is being abused. And I felt that the man was being pushed through by his team. And I was upset that I was like, God, man, just at least put somebody else up there that's not lost. And I felt bad. And what really upset me, and this is one thing I didn't know, and I don't know what you guys think, but I realized he never once stood in front of a camera and did a live feed to America saying, I'm still going to be your president, but I'm stepping down as your candidate for next. He didn't do it. All I've seen was paperwork and a letter signed, which we all know we can all go on any website and docu-sign something. Anybody could have signed it. I'm wondering if he even knows that he's out of the race. I'm wondering if the people behind the scenes, because and this just goes for whether you're Republican or Democrat, if you're in that kind of a situation, there's people behind the scenes that are just pushing buttons saying, no, we got to fix this. We got to fix this now. He doesn't know about it. Keep his ass in the back room. Don't tell him anything. We're just going to do what we got to do. I'm wondering why that has happened. He couldn't hurt. I would actually have more respect for the man if he was able to stand up in front of the world and just say, hey, here I am.
Agree with you, David.
So I'm just curious why they didn't do it.
He seems like he is sick, and I had several family members having dementia, and it's something that comes slowly but surely. And a lot of people actually in the beginning would deny it, because
everybody does. So look at Reagan.
So
Reagan got to that point,
exactly.
and I love that man, but I was like,
I think there's been a lot of yes sayers and no sayers, and a lot of sayers behind the scene. And I think that a lot of them were seeing that this is not going to go well, and he could not take 4 years more to be.
I'm just curious if down the road we're going to hear the podcast or the inside scoop, and he had no freaking clue that he was not the president anymore and that Kamala was going. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a compassion in me, but I kind of feel bad for the man. I think they pushed him too far. I think even Trump has realized, damn, dude, I mean, I can't fight with this guy. It's not even fair fight, So you might be right. Kamala might be able to one to go out there and at least put an attack in, but from some of the things I've seen from her, even if I was completely behind her, I'd be like, oh damn, she's just gonna ruin this one
I
time.
think that she just should be more aligned with herself and her own values, and become more of her, and not so much Biden and how Biden did things, but become more herself, and not being so worried about if people like her or not. Because I think that the problem is that when you want to be so likable, everyone's gonna like you. Because you're just like, you want to be a pleaser to everyone. And I think that, in some ways, it becomes almost like, it looks like propaganda, like making video like, oh, I do this for the elderly. Oh, I do this for the poor. Like you want to be so much liked. And I think that Trump has a winning card because he's the opposite. He's not afraid of people not liking him, because he's just being himself. And I think in this election, I think it's so important to be yourself. And I think because people can see right through you. If you're being
she's
fake,
made a career on doing exactly what everybody wants her to do to make herself look good. And I think that she's about to get drugged through the mud if she does this. And I hope she's prepared for that. Just based on the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah, I think that because there's so many people that now stand behind her, and she could potentially win and become the president of the United States of America, and the first female and the first Black female as president. And I think that's a big, big thing. And it's a big responsibility on your shoulders. And I think that's remarkable, amazing. Like, we've never had that in history. So that's a big thing. But at the same time, it's a slippery road, because she might fall, and it's a big responsibility. And I think that Trump, as being president before, has a different way of doing things. And sometimes you might not agree with him. Sometimes you would agree with him. But in that sense, I think that he's more true to himself and his own nature. And that's going to make him go really far. But again,
Well, for her sake, I hope the rumors aren't true, because I read something today too that that she's been claiming that she's African American when she's of Indian descent, and that's one of those things. I'm like, well, I got to see it for sure, but who knows? Who cares? I mean, you hear all that stuff, So, but I know they're gonna attack every aspect.
And I think that's playing that card, and like, oh, you're not real Black, and you're not this, and you're not that. Come on,
Yeah, you hear that all the time, and that's what's irritating about all of it.
And again, it shouldn't be the reason for you to become the president if you're Black or if you're female. But I think that it could be interesting. I think that it could really become a great thing for women to be heard in a different way than before. And I think a lot of young women would be amazed by it, to see a female president.
Well, Sasha, being from Denmark, do you like soccer?
Well, if I have to be honest, I'm really bad at soccer, and my ex-boyfriend loves soccer, and I tried to really get into it.
Well, you know how compassionate people get in Europe and all over for soccer. That's what Americans do when it comes to their politics. After a while, they start to change it into this is my team versus your team.
Yeah, but it's almost like religion. It's like
it's crazy.
It's like, oh my God. And you're not allowed to change your opinion,
right?
I always vote for the one that looks the best,
Before we move on, guys, I want to just get Eugenia's take real quick here.
Well, I enjoyed listening to you guys. You seem very passionate about this subject. And for me, it's just fascinating to see how this society became a Hunger Games society. And I agree with you guys. There's so much more questions than answers, and there's so much that's happening behind the scenes. And I'm just really sad that people are separated, No matter what you say, I feel like there's an agenda. I don't know, whatever it is, but everybody I know is just standing on a different side. And, people are really agitated to the point where it becomes violent. So I'm not political. I'm not speaking out. I'm a humanitarian person. I came from Russia, so I've been in politics and around politics all my life. I just know there's a lot of corruption. I think my only not my responsibility, the way I can help change something is by actually doing humanitarian work and doing all those things. But politics, no, thank you. I've seen too much. I've been on a couple of campaigns with like Hillary, and I've seen way too much of corruption on any side.
Yeah.
Well, as
makes sense.
entertainers, we're supposed to just sit back, right?
I don't know. I do research. I don't think it's sitting back. I think it's actually thinking critically and reading everything that comes out from any source, left, right, up, down, and then just coming up with, resources for how to survive in this world after the elections. That's what I think. You just have to, I have 2 kids, you have to critically think about, what is going to happen to this country.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're all on the same page. Most likely Harris. I agree. But since we're talking about aging and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on something that I find pretty fascinating. It's an anti-aging treatment that is very popular among the tech elite, tech billionaires. It's actually a blood transfusion from, say, an 18-year-old to a healthy 70-year-old or 40, 50-year-old to slow the aging process. And I was wondering if, this is what you think about this, if this is something you would try if you had the opportunity, or if it was more common in the future. Do you think this is the treatment of the future, or you think this is modern day vampirism? What do you think? Let's start with Eugenia or Sasha. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just like saying, like, sign me up, because I'm for like anti-aging. I think it's interesting. I think that, we've come so far with the technology, and I don't think there's anything wrong with looking better, looking younger, having a better body, because the fact is that aging equals dying. And we put that stigma on, well, it's so beautiful. And I think it is beautiful. I think it's amazing. But I don't think anyone wants to die, and I think that's the whole idea of it, is to getting that option to actually prolong your life and be younger for a longer time, or stop the aging process, and I think that could be interesting. But at the same time, there's something else in it, and that's if it's with you can become hooked on it, and then what's going to happen to you eventually later on, when you're so old and you're still continuing trying to look younger and trying to look younger. Will it change you as a human being, and will you in the end become this weird person, because we're not made to be young forever. We're supposed to die eventually, because that's a part of nature. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, for myself, I love science, and I love that you have that option and you can do something about it. The same as with human growth hormones, a lot of people take that to stay young as an anti-aging cure. And I've been looking online and checking out, like, what can you do, because I'm getting older, and we all are getting older, and could it prevent Alzheimer's? Because again, I have a lot of my family members have dementia and Alzheimer's, and so I really don't want that. And so if there's a cure for that, that could be amazing as well. So yeah, I'm up for it. I think it's amazing.
All right. And what about you, Eugenia?
Well, I'm 150 years old, guys, so it's working.
Who's your doctor? What the heck?
I'm in the way,
No,
I don't know. For me, it's fascinating. I grew up in Russia. We had natural things. If you're sick, you put vodka on top, and that's it, you know.
Vodka. I love vodka.
Vodka is the best.
Only medicine. Yes. And then you come to LA, and you know, it's like these days, I think everybody has a filter on. You know, there's just plastic surgery that's made specifically for people to look like their Instagram filter. I think it is too much. You know, I actually, whenever I go to Europe, I appreciate natural beauty, and like, look, you know, the longest living people are somewhere in Japan, and I don't think they're so obsessed about this, like looking young. You know, it's all about the spirit, and I don't feel it's cultivated in the West. Rather, all your insecurities are presented in front of you just to sell you something new. And I think it is a way of vampirism. I mean, it, you know, there is definitely good positive things if it cures diseases and things like that, but just the main reason to inject yourself, you know, for vanity, I don't know, it's not my thing. You know, I love being in Paris, for example. I see women of a certain age, and they're so beautiful, you know, the way they approach being natural and sexy and, you know, charming and intelligent. I think there's so much beauty in that and diversity. And I feel like we're all becoming like Kardashians with the same features and, you know, the same body type. And it just feeds an insecurity. The mental health of girls now is at the highest just because of filters and, you know, the pressure of looking a certain way, especially in Hollywood, where everybody's in Ozempic and all these drugs, and people who have diabetes don't have enough drugs. You know, I think it just went over the top, and it's all because of our insecurity of not being enough. And I feel rather than that, you know, it's so important to cultivate some spirituality and growth inside, rather than, you know, always trying to look younger. So yeah, coming to LA, it is an interesting journey in that sense. And I understand the big billionaires too. You know, I know a couple people in tech, they're obsessed about living forever. So that's an obsession and a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who, Geoffrey?
He said me.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my thing. You can do all the alterations with your outer body when you're dealing with things inside. That is a natural process. I think you're like doing, it's like a fine. You can put all this blood, change the blood with the 17-year-old. You're still, the aging process is going to happen. It's a natural thing. God designed us to die at an age at a certain rate. Like, we can't alter that. And I think it's just pushing the buttons for danger to me, because you're doing all the outer stuff. But when you're dealing with stuff inside, like I said, I just don't believe in it. I think it just creates another gimmick for people to believe. It's not going to change that process of that body aging. I don't believe that, because it's just a natural process.
Yeah, I mean, there are mixed clinical results, so it's kind of, who knows?
Yeah.
What do you think, David?
Well, I teach high school, and I don't know about you guys, but there's no way in God's green earth that I want to live to be, 500 years old, because I've realized that my everything that we've done and everything we've been through is not the same thing now. And I don't know if I could be that guy that living around all these kids that are just different everything, and it's we're meant to have our prime, do our prime, and get out of our prime. This is something that's been scientifically and historically been going on forever. I mean, you've all heard of Ponce de Leon, looking for the fountain of youth in Florida. We're not the first generation to come up with it, and every generation was a top notch of their science at the time. Everybody was looking for that answer. I believe, and I heard this on a podcast the other day. I believe that we are, when you start dabbing into DNA and you start dabbing into the blood work and you start doing this kind of stuff, I don't know if I have the answers for it, but I believe there's a fine line, like Geoffrey said, that we are tapping into the occult, and we're going against what God wanted us to do. And, whether we like it or not, he's gonna stop it. I mean, it's kind of like the Back to the Future theory that you can go out there and you can try to change the future, but destiny is going to end you no matter what. And people are, like you said, all these filters, people are more worried about what they look like. To be honest with you, being that I teach high school and being that I've been an athlete my whole life, being that I've been in the entertainment business, you know, there's this part of me that's like, God, man, I used to be this. You wouldn't know because you haven't seen it, but you have to understand, I'm not old. You know, there's nothing that sucks more than when somebody calls you old. But the day I turned 50, the years of the 50 so far in these 3 months have been some of the best years of my life. There's something that snapped in my head where the wisdom came out, and I just start smiling and going, ha, well, wait till you hope you can look this good when you get my age. That's what I tell them. But for the reality part of it is, there's too many people that I fell in love with as entertainers that when I see their faces now, they're not the same person. They look like a plastic bubble that they half the time they can't smile. It's scary to look at. It's like I'm watching an episode of Mask, you know, the original Mask with back in the day with what's your name? Help me out, Corey. You know what I'm talking about.
That's great. Cameron
With
Diaz,
Original Mask. Oh, you're talking about The Mask with
The
Jim Carrey?
Mask.
Jim Carrey.
No. Back further than that. The
Mask,
80s.
1980s Mask. It was just called
Yes.
Oh, with Cher.
With Cher. Yeah. I
Yes.
feel like half the people look like that kid now. It's like, what are you doing? You were a beautiful person.
Yeah.
Look, aging is a beautiful thing, whether
Yes.
we like it or not. You know, if you work out, if you eat right, you take care of yourself, you could tell somebody is aging very good. If you decide that you just want to be lazy and not take care of yourself, you're going to age fast. You're going to age so damn fast that people are going to look at you and they're going to be like, oh my God, like you're not taking care of yourself. Like you can tell. And we all want to skip the hard work, the hard labor, the hard stuff that, you know, the discipline, the integrity of just doing what you have to do. We keep wanting to skip that, and we want the fast thing. We all want that diet that'll like make you lose 12 pounds. I'm a health teacher. Losing more than 2 pounds a month is not a good thing. And if you do lose it, good for you. You look good for about 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But we all know that the minute nobody's looking, you gain it back faster and including more weight. So I also think that coming into the blood work and doing the blood work thing, I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to cause extra problems. We're going to all of a sudden create some kind of disease that's going to come out of blood work that we shouldn't have had. And just like Sasha, we have a grandma that died of Alzheimer's. I worked in an Alzheimer's facility. I've done a great deal of research on Alzheimer's. It is in our DNA to have that capability to have Alzheimer's. I too wish that they come up with something that can fix it. If they're able to accidentally, and I say accidentally, come up with ways to fix these diseases, you know, and I'm like everybody else, I'm going to say F cancer because I hate cancer, but I also think that that's one little thing that God put on this earth to say, look, I don't want you guys living forever. I can't have 10 billion people living on this earth. We don't have the room for it. And I have a job for you, and I have a responsibility for you. And that's not in my thing. So when we start messing around with what God gave us, I think we're causing problems, and I think we're just creating more problems in the future. And everybody looks at you and knows damn well, wow, you don't look like you did when you were 26. So like Eugenia said, there's beauty in it. Just go out there, be beautiful, and just take care of yourself. Eat right, work out, don't be lazy, and that's the key. But popping up, collagen and all this, I mean, a little bit here and there is fine, but people take it too far. It becomes an obsession, and you need to realize that you're going to age, and people respect people that age. Why is it that they respect, men aging better than women? I think that sucks. I think when a woman gets old and they're like, oh, she's washed out. Maybe that's an entertainment industry thought process, but the reality is, I think people can be beautiful and people can be handsome and people can be just great in all aspects if they just take care of themselves. And it doesn't mean go get a shot, doesn't mean cheat, doesn't mean go to a doctor. It just means just take care of yourself. Take your vitamins, eat your food, get your damn sleep because you need 8 hours of sleep a night or 7 hours. Take care of yourself, and believe that God put you on this earth for a reason, and stop trying to switch what he has planned for you.
Yeah.
All right. Corey, do you have something to add?
Yeah. First of all, I'm waiting to witness this wisdom David was talking about after he turned 50. I'm still waiting to see this. I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath for it, but no, I mean, I agree with kind of a lot of what everybody's saying, but I'm going to play the advocate of an opposite side just for a minute because this conversation is reminding me of Orville and Wilbur Wright, whose own father was a preacher and had told them if men were intended to fly, God would have given them wings, right? Of course, since the beginning of time, men have dreamt of flying. I mean, it's the whole idea of the modern Prometheus, which was the alternative title of Frankenstein. How much can we mess with ourselves and mess with the natural aspects of death and youth before we're crossing the ethical lines that Geoffrey was talking about, right? And I think that human nature is to toe that. And I think that there's people that are always going to cross that ethical line regardless because they don't care. And those are the vampires. And then there's the people that are going to take that information afterwards and do the best with it. Something they've already cracked the egg, cat's already out of the bag. Let's do the best we can. And then there's the ones I think that do forge forward down the center that have some, are looking at the ethics while we're moving forward. I love technology, but I'm also aware of the dangers of just rushing forward. And my favorite author of all time is Michael Crichton, who of course famously wrote Jurassic Park. And this is very much the theme of Jurassic Park as well. It's a theme that's so powerful, people don't realize they're watching it's dinosaurs, it's cool, but it's the same exact theme as Frankenstein. This is something humans have always discussed with technology, is how far is too far, what is the line? And we're babies in a lot of this. But, the Wright brothers go from flying a plane from flying the first flight to putting a man on the moon in 60 years. That's within the lifetime of a man. Right. And I can tell you the technology has progressed insanely in my lifetime, all of our lifetimes, from computers, watching the world go from analog to digital, as most of us did, and then seeing how fast digital went. I think those technologies are all inherent in humans. I think that we're meant to test those boundaries. I feel like part of our adaptation, which is our brain, is why we're sitting here on computers talking to each other in the comfort of homes with air conditioning, with gorgeous buildings behind us and things like that, is because of how we've tried to progress away from being just the same as all of the animals. So as often as we're saying, oh, if God intended, then, well, I don't know that didn't he intend us to be in nice buildings with air conditioning? If our brains create that and design that, I think it is an intention that as an eventuality, I think we are intended to live longer eventually, or at least look better and feel healthier for a longer time. Being able to meet your great grandkids is something that's starting to occur that hasn't always occurred in the past. On one hand, David's saying, hey, we're messing with God, but on the other, he's pretty happy that he's 50 years old and does not look like 50-year-olds look like when we were kids by any means, right? So it's both sides of it. The blood thing to me at this point in time sounds creepy. It sounds terrible. It's very similar to what Lance Armstrong was doing. I don't know how many of you guys, there's great documentaries on it. That's what he was doing that was illegal. He was actually transferring blood into himself while he was riding, right? That's what he was doing. That was cheating. So there's obviously dangers, and there's people that are going to take it too far, and the only reason they're doing it is for self-gratification. They want to look better. They want to do this. They want to do that. But out of that, like David was kind of hinting at, out of that, I think we're going to find some good things, right? People are going to run out and run into walls, and the rest of us are going to look at it and go, that wall's really hard. Maybe we should make helmets. And so we have those guys. And the one that you sent with the information you sent, it was definitely, you're looking at that guy and just like, come on, man. The guy just looks like
Brian Johnson.
I care about me, and that's a very different thing. So that all being said, I appreciate when people just accept it. We've been watching that show, The Bear. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that TV show, The Bear. Excellent show. And Jamie Lee Curtis has been on the show, right? She's been a bombshell her entire life. She's just aging. And my wife and I always comment, good for her. She's just letting herself age, and she looks fantastic. She looks nothing like she did 30 years ago, but who cares? You're not supposed to. But I feel like these younger actresses and actors now, you look, and it's like the moment wrinkles show up, they panic. Oh, everyone's going to think I'm getting older. And then they get surgery, and then it's like, you just made it obvious that you have no confidence. You just made it obvious that you were so afraid we're going to see the little, crow lines that you just went and put an obvious sign on, I'm getting older, don't look at me. But it's like, no, this is exactly what we're looking at now, right?
But
so like David said, there's some level that I do believe is acceptable. I think eventually the collagen injections might become better, might become something that's actually healthier for the skin eventually. I don't know. This is science fiction at this point. A lot of these things could become better. And maybe there's better ways of transfusing blood between each other later that doesn't require needles and all the creepy stuff like right now. I mean, before we had needles, they had to come in with a scalpel and they had to cut and they'd take a quill and, stick whatever medicines were in that hole. So needles and blood shots are better than they were, but maybe we'll come up with something even better. Maybe there's a way humans can just literally, hey, let's transfer health between each other. And it's something we could do by touching hands. Who knows? I don't know. Right. But I think it's a possibility either direction. But right now, it just seems like vampirism. It seems creepy. The one you sent in particular just seems creepy. Stealing blood from your son to
Corey,
it is a bit creepy.
A little bit of wisdom for you, Corey.
How do we know that?
Never give up. Great things take time.
I could wait till
I don't know what that means.
I can wait till I'm 90 or 100 before I see that wisdom, man.
I had to throw some wisdom out there.
And that we don't shame people just because they want to look young or they look young, because as we see with ageism, it goes both ways, so there's also a lot of people that shame women or men for looking younger than they look. You look too young for your age, or you look too old for your age. And I'm like, God, let go, and just let be.
Well, I'd personally rather have one of those problems over the other. I'd rather be dealing with looking too young for my age than too old for my age.
For sure.
That's what it is. But you gotta accept what you accept. My brother's 6 foot and I'm 5'8". It's never
6'1". Get it right.
Yeah.
You just make it shorter.
Right. So you guys, I before I ask you what your craziest anti-aging treatment that you've done is, I'll just share my opinion that I'm totally open to this if they streamline it in 10 years, make it super safe and it's ubiquitous, and I'm open to it. Why not? But so what is your craziest anti-aging or health treatment that you've done so far? Or if you haven't done anything, be honest, what would you do?
Drink a lot of beer. Things that help. I don't know.
Vodka.
Yeah, vodka.
Work out.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
I guess I'll go since no one is telling
I think
anything.
just be happy, like the wrinkles they show on the face, and they're actually beautiful when they show your history. And then if you're angry,
wisdom,
then you're gonna have a lot of things.
Yeah, the wisdom of experience. And
probably the craziest thing that I've done is spend $90 damn for that little bottle like this, where I have to put it on this little finger right here and rub it together and rub it under my eyes to get rid of the dark circles. And if I don't tell nobody gives a rat's ass or understands. But if I say, hey, so what do you think about my eyes? They're like, why? What'd you do? And I said, oh, I put this cream on. They're like, oh, I can see it. You're full of crap. I'm spending $90 every time for that. You know what? It means I need to get some more sleep, and I have high cheekbones from, the Native American in me. I don't know, but it's like, I feel like it's crazy every time. And probably the only other thing I could think of is doing ice showers, which suck ass. I don't care what anybody says. They just doing an ice dip. Corey liked it. I went to the military. I did, when jumping in the cold water, everybody thinks that I should be able to handle it. I still hate it. I still hate ice cold water.
I do the face and partial head. I don't do.
It's supposed to help you, but after all these years of trying it, now I'm seeing scientific proof, or they're saying, medical scientists state that ice baths really don't work. I'm thinking, what the hell? Like I've been torturing myself for all this time. But yeah, I think for me, it's the cream that, everybody's seen, like on the infomercials, it works, but. And then TikTok, it works, but it might be a filter, who knows? It doesn't seem to work for me, but then yet again, I don't remember to do it every night. So
Geoffrey, what's the craziest thing you've done health wise or anti-aging wise? Like, what have you tried?
I haven't really did anything too crazy. I don't eat red meat.
There you go. Okay.
I'm 54, so I run every day.
Oh wow.
I will run. So that's how I keep my youth. I feel like if I like it's maintenance. You have to do something to keep your immune system up and keep your metabolism flowing. So that's the only, I don't do anything crazy. I accept life for what it is. And I just try to add to it by naturally doing something to make myself look youthful. And that's eat right and work out and be happy. Just be happy.
That smile helps. Yep, that smile helps more than anything.
It's to me, smiling is a facelift. If you keep that,
it takes less muscles to smile than it does to frown.
Yeah, so that's my thing, y'all. I can't. I don't do the crazy stuff. It don't work for me anyway.
I'm gonna jump in here and spice it up since I feel like I apparently have done the craziest stuff. Has anyone gone to microneedle facial? It's like a little, yeah, okay. So like little pricks. I tried that recently. It's a bit of an experience. They put like a 0.25 millimeter needle all over your face, try and get the collagen. You know, it was nice. I liked it.
Is that like acupuncture? Acupuncture. I can't even say it.
Yeah, it is like acupuncture, except it's tiny like abrasions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on the outside looking in, it sounds like it would work. If anything, your face would be nice and swollen. I mean, I do intermittent fasting for 22 hours a day, half the like 4 days a week. So that might be crazy for people.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't do that.
It resets my sugar levels, after, I think around COVID, I started doing it, and like just going 10 hours, I thought I was going to die. And then all of a sudden I moved up to 4 o'clock the next day, and I was like, oh, I almost made it. And then after a while I was like, oh, this is easy. It doesn't, I mean, I'll still eat if I have to, but I've developed a stamina where I'm like, I don't need to eat unless it's really good food. Then I'm like, oh, what are you guys cooking? If it's really damn good, then I'm like, screw it, I can do this tomorrow. But for the most part, I think that's one thing that might be extreme if people look at it, going 22 hours a day without eating, that does it. But I like the fact that it resets my sugar levels, so I never look like somebody that's getting close to diabetes or anything, and I get in the keto state. So I like it, but it's not for everybody.
So Brana, what is the purpose of that process you were talking about? Like what's the goal? What's the intention with it?
The goal is like just to rejuvenate the skin, because the tiny
capillaries.
No, the tiny the tiny tears, I guess. I'm trying to think of the word, I can't think of it, but the tiny, not ruptures, but the tiny little tears in the skin stimulate
microabrasions.
Microabrasions, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It stimulates, the new nutrients to go and create new cells, and so you have a nice, youthful.
It's working.
What's the clinical on that?
I have no idea.
Everybody said
I can see it. It's working. Look at her.
Yeah. Did you felt like it worked? Did it?
So I saw a difference like right away, but it's not necessarily supposed to work like that. You're supposed to see a difference maybe like a month after, and I'm not exactly sure if I saw a difference a month after, but it's a little bit hard to keep track because so much time has passed. So I just have a question mark about that, but I did notice a difference right off the bat, and it helped with my acne that I get once in a while. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it.
Maybe that's not so crazy after all then. I mean, if it's getting your body to react, and that's not necessarily like crazy to me or a bad thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that crazy. It's actually something that sounds like scientifically, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, not eating every day, that's crazy. So.
I agree with that.
Once he mentioned that, I realized we probably do a couple of things that people would think are insane. We don't think it's insane. So, there's probably more things we're doing that, but I don't think we do anything to be youthful. Like I'm not trying to look youthful here.
But it's also health,
but
right?
health,
Anything
right,
you're
right.
doing for your
Health
I
health.
want
is
to live long
short.
for my family, my kids, and my
Correct.
grandkids, because it
Yeah.
would suck, knowing that, I have to go and everybody, oh, I don't know if they'd be real sad, but the reality is I would rather be the one that have to suffer the pain and hurt when my family is gone than them having to lose that hurt. So to me, I think it's a duty that I have as a human being and a family member to take care of myself, make sure that I'm healthy, make sure that I live long, because you know what? My grandpa lived to be 93 years old and he didn't work out all the time. He took care of himself. He had good genes, but at the same time, I'm very grateful. I used to tell him before he had died that I was like, damn, Gramps, you keep raising the bar, man. I have to go to 100 now, and and he'd laugh. He goes, hey, if I could keep writing my name in the snow, then I guess I'm still standing, so at the end of the day, like Corey said, I think it's about health. For me, I do it more or less to live better for my family so that I'm here and I can do it, and so for me, I'm willing to try just about anything, so, but not, I don't think I'm going to go get a blood transfusion, with my son, and that probably wouldn't be a good idea anyway. So
I want to be, I want to remain, yeah. I want to remain young as long as I can with, for healthy reasons, because I want to have the energy for my kids. I want to be there, and then I want to have the energy and be there for my grandkids and give them the best of myself. I get all that. That's, I'm 100% on board. Finding
Yeah.
ways to do that without, crossing lines or whatever. I don't think anybody, what you guys have talked about so far, is crossing any lines. So, yeah, the ice baths he's talking about with the face, like that's not about being young either. That helps. Like I'm telling you, that helps with my blood pressure. That helps a couple of things, and you feel great, and it actually clears your sinuses. So I never even heard anybody say that it's supposed to make me look younger or whatever. I don't. That's not a thing for me. So
Right.
that's probably the most extreme, unless you count the time that I commandeered a Spanish vessel and went up the Florida coast trying to look for the Fountain of Youth. But other than that,
all right, Ponce.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but
do the ladies here have anything to add, or like something you've considered doing, or?
Well, I've done laser for some years, and I've done micro needling a lot. And I've done the vampire thing as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where you take your blood and you mix it, and then yeah. So I've done that, and well, I've done this and that, I've done several things, and laser is really good, and you can do red lights. Red lights are really good.
Red lights are good.
Yeah, and
yeah, I just can't afford it.
Red lights is amazing. And then yeah, like I would love to do more, but later on, like I want to keep up with myself and just stay healthy. That's the most important thing. And I believe in sustainability. So if I could be sustainable, I think that would be amazing. Recycling me. Because there's no reason for like, I think that it's sad that we have to die, and then it sounds like really stupid in some ways, because why not recycling? Like we throw things away, why would we do that with humans? So in some ways, I think that with science, and I believe that God is science, so eventually God and science go together, and then maybe we're gonna live forever, who knows? But I would think that it would be amazing to be alive and to live forever and to look young and live forever.
You make a good point. I mean, I believe that too. I think he is science, and he's given us the opportunity to use our brains to be able to do things. So, I mean,
I think that it's not because no one wants to die. Like I'm not running, if you're happy and you're living a good life, I don't think that's natural. I think that that's something that I don't know why it happened or what it was supposed to do, but I think that when you get older, most people get wiser, and why would you then die afterwards? Well, now I have so much information.
like Kenny Chesney said, everybody wants to go to heaven, they just don't want to go today.
Exactly. I think that, and then we start talking about, well, maybe another life, another this or another that. but you know what? It seems like you're at a really good party. Why would you leave it? And then, well, there's people in the line and you gotta go. And I'm like, well, if I can do something about it, then maybe I'm gonna be here for the party for a longer time, And I think that everyone, even though they say, no, it's a natural thing, I think most people would say, oh, well, then I'm gonna do this for staying here a longer time, for being at the party. And especially as a woman, there's so much pressure. I know that there's also pressure on men, but as a woman, there's so much pressure of looking in certain way, and men they want you to be this and they want you to be that, and then you're not fuckable anymore, and now you're not American material, So I think that you want to do a lot, like I've seen the Dead Becomes Her, the old movie with Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, Death Becomes Her, where it's about a potion that they drink and then they are, young forever. And then you see the backside of it, that it does not go well, and that's kind of sad, but I would love if it could be like that and it went really well.
That's an awesome movie. I love
Watching all those vampire movies made me realize I don't want to live forever because they're all miserable too.
Oh my God, but they're so sexy. Come on. I would love to be with a vampire.
Yeah, I've always thought about that the same way. Like, even when I was younger, I'm like, well, why can't I live forever? What is it that happens? Because they're like, oh, well, you gotta do your part and go back into the earth, and you're part of this cycle. And I'm like, then what would be wrong? And it's gonna sound wrong, but what would be wrong with me killing 1,000 people? Don't I get to live 1,000 lives then? Haven't I put them back into the dirt? There's all kinds of things that the human body and the human mind comes across that doesn't make sense in that realm, right? Because we all know instinctively, naturally, no, you can't kill. You can't, because you are doing something unnatural. You are destroying a part of this. And so in our bodies, and I say that, it sounds morbid. I say that because in our bodies, we have the capability of reproducing newer cells. We stop that process. Subconsciously, our bodies stop that process at some point, right? I don't know. We haven't discovered yet. Maybe there's some chemical thing in the air that causes us to stop. But as far as we know, our subconscious mind, which is hardwired to survive from birth, right? We're all very selfish in the beginning. Gimme. We're crying. We need it. You would assume more people would grow up more selfish and have that thought process of, well, if I just put other people back into the ground, I don't have to, and I can. That's the whole vampire thing, right? But at some point in time, all of our minds recognize something is there. It recognizes something we don't consciously recognize. That even though we're hardwired for survival, at some point in time, we go, all right, that's it. You're left with the organs you got. And consciously, we're all still fighting it. No. I want to look younger. I want to be, but at some point in time, our own bodies go, we're done. It knows something, understands something that we don't. So I agree with you that kind of at some level, everyone wants to live forever. Maybe at some level, like Dave says, we're aware that like maybe we don't also. But I think it's very healthy I think it's very natural to want to live forever. And I think it's a little bit less natural to be like, no, I want to die. Accepting that you're going to, and that it's natural, that it's going to happen eventually, that's healthy. Focusing on, I can't wait till I die, that would be unnatural and unhealthy. And so I think it is within what we've known our entire lives when you get to middle age, has been like, you're planning for the future, you're planning for the future. Then you get there. And now you're like, well, this is the future. What do I have left? And that's that midlife thing, crisis they all talk about, where you have to now readjust and be like, well, geez, what has this all been about? Right. And that's when we all struggle, I think, with youthful looks and everything else. And then you start understanding the wisdom David was talking about, where now the next phase of life comes along and you realize, no, it's the people, it's the love, it's all of these other things have been what it's about the entire time. And I think that eases that passage into understanding we're not all going to be here forever. But there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason for that. So,
So, yeah.
It's all a little off topic. It's just going off of what.
No, I want to
Sasha was
hear
so.
Eugenia's take on
Yeah,
all
sorry.
this.
No. I've done so many crazy things, but not for, so to say, beauty, just, because in Russia we had no medicine when I was growing up. So a lot of times, we would invent things like you take onion and cut it, or, put like, how you, not the onion, but the other one. Oh my God, my
Garlic?
garlic. Yeah, garlic, you put it in the nose when you're sick, or you put it in the ears, and then you cut it and put it next to your bed. Obviously, you put vodka all over so the temperature comes down. And
That is
when you
vodka.
yeah, when you get a
Vodka is the cure for everything.
yes, it is. Just never had COVID because of that. Anyway, um, you put yogurt. I put a lot of yogurt when you're, if your skin is burned, things like that, or a mask out of yolk for the hair. So I think we're very inventive with the way we took nature and remedies from that. And actually in beauty lines, I always try to look for brands with no toxins. And, coming from modeling, we're always sold a lot of creams. Like I was advertising anti-aging creams since I was like 12 or 15. And you don't realize, because they're not supposed to, like their policy for anti-aging creams is they're not supposed to retouch them. So that's why they hire models who are like literally 15 and they have no wrinkles. And then you're like, okay, it's anti-aging. And a lot of times, as a young model, I tried all these products and I realized they're really toxic for my skin. And it's just another branding and marketing. And I started more and more looking for things that are natural, and like that makes me more healthy.
Yeah. That makes sense. So I think this is probably going to be the wrap-up question. But speaking of aging and all this, it's been kind of viral lately about Gen Z. People have been noticing or claiming that Gen Z has been aging very rapidly. And so I wanted your guys' opinion. Do you think this is true? And if so, do you think that, or what is the cause of this? So, Sasha, let's start with you.
Oh, that's a very sore subject in some ways, because I have a lot of friends that are Gen Zs. So I don't want to but at the same time, yeah, like I've seen it on the internet. I've seen like going viral about this being a topic that, you see Gen Zs looking older than they're supposed to. And I've also, I have friends and they look older than they should, like if you compare them to millennials or, then they just look a bit older. And I think, again, I don't remember if it was Corey or David that talked about it, but the filler and changing, that was David, with the mask. And I think that, when you alter your face because you want to look so young, and I remember that from myself when I was really young, I was like in my start 20s. And I was talking about all those creams and like, oh, I want anti-aging this, anti-aging that. I was so into it when I was so young. And I see those Gen Zs being so into getting all those, fillers and treatments when they're in their early 20s. And when they do that, I think that actually makes it the opposite. I think that it just makes them look older. And then you don't have that kind of fresh, youthful look that you're born with. So, they're fighting nature. And in some ways, nature is fighting back, and it actually gives them a result that they were not supposed to get, and they get really not that happy with it. So I think that, yeah, I've seen it. And then, again, I think that it's up to that person if they want to have that, the big lips, changing everything, the appearance. And I think that kind of be like self-believing idea, well, the idea of yourself, now I'm rambling on, but like the idea of yourself is distorted because who are you as a person? I think that because of social media, because of all these expectations that are put on you in such a young age, and the Gen Zs, they were born with social media almost, you know, like they were like from the 90s and 2000s, and right? No, 2000s. They're born from the 2000s, right? Yeah, Gen Zs are from the 2000s.
Yeah, 2000s and
Yeah, because I was thinking
2000s.
maybe 90s, but no, it's like from the 2000s. And you know, so they were actually born with social media. So and when you have social media, that gives them a distorted kind of idea of how to look. And Eugenia, she talked also about this with the filter. You know, we see people with filter all the time, like on Instagram, on TikTok, and I think that is in some ways and in some ways like kind of an effect of that kind of, you know, look that they're getting. And I think that's sad in some ways.
Yeah, it could be. Who wants to take a stab at this?
I'll
David?
go ahead. So, you know, I teach high school. I teach anatomy, physiology, health, and PE. And social media, like Sasha said, has created an entire environment for these young kids, you know, of instant gratification. And therefore, they want to look older now. They want to look like that model they see on Instagram, that model they see on TV. You know, when we were younger, teenage girls look like teenage girls. If you were to walk out, you know, into anywhere, Disneyland, you can look and say, I don't know if she's 20 or 15. You know, all these social media things that they're allowed to do or they're doing, they're dressing as they're older. They are putting makeup on like they're older. They're allowed to do things that, you know, when we were younger, we weren't allowed to do, you know. And I'm a guy, so I can't know, but I've had daughters. And I think that's one of the big things. I also know too, and people can argue with me all they want. I live in California, and since I moved out here from Nebraska, the California standards for physical education are gone. They're up there for, you know, legal purposes, but they don't follow it. Kids are not required to work out. Kids are not required to test. We're required to do a test every year. They don't care. They don't give a rat's ass what we give them. We can make up all the answers. They just want to see that, oh, we just did it, because they're filling a statistic that the state needs. The reality is we're not teaching kids at a young age that physical conditioning is important. We're not teaching that diet's important. Look at the diets that we eat nowadays. Everything is so fast paced. I mean, everything is designed with nothing but toxic chemicals. You know, everything is made. We're not eating natural foods. Kids are not taught to eat right. They're not taught to work out. It's not something that they think that they should do. They think like Sasha said, oh, I can just go get this makeup and it'll take care of it. I can go do this and it'll fix it. I can go get a pad and put it in my butt, and my butt will look like I work out. There's so many different things that we're not taking care of the human body anymore. And because of that, the age process plus the foods that we eat are destroying the human body. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that social media is the devil, whether we like it or not. It's got its good things, but it's got more bad things than anything. And I think instant gratification is making kids nowadays, though at least the Z Gen especially, it's making them grow old faster. And I think that they're destroying themselves instead of doing it the proper way. And you know, I guess like Sasha said, there's a point where there's a balance. I'm trying to pull back. And then if you do it too early, it's just pushing you forward. So I think it's the lack of diet and the lack of education and social media that's ruining it. So I think it's a real thing.
Yeah. So Geoffrey, it looks like you have a red.
I know.
A red light on your
died, so
red dot
I'm in
on
the
his head.
infrared, so my phone died. I had to come out of the infrared. So I'm in the infrared room. My phone died, and I had to run and get a charger. So it looks pretty crazy. So
That's all right. So what do you?
So weird.
What do you think about this,
So
Geoffrey?
yeah, I think the Gen Zs are aging quicker because of stress. I think that they're trying to live a certain way by all the different surgeries. They're trying to keep a certain amount of income level. I think all that is stressing and aging them because they're going to hold up a standard. So to me, that creates a aging process early. They're doing stuff to their bodies that they should not be doing, and they don't realize that money that they invest in because they're young, they don't have that income like that. It you have to maintain it, and then their faces and their bodies start to look crazy. So I think it's a stress level of trying to maintain a certain lifestyle at such an early age. That's my opinion on that. And they're doing anything to keep that level by the way they have to make money. It's just crazy. It's like a hustle game to them to live a certain lifestyle of what they may see on TV, with celebrities. Everybody's trying to live that lifestyle, and they're doing just to keep and maintain that lifestyle. So to me, I feel like that's what's aging them quicker.
Yeah. So what do you think, Eugenia?
Yeah, I can't agree more. It's like stress, technology, and TikTok trends, like my kids who were 12, I think there was a trend where they were all buying this cosmetic brand, Drunk Elephant from Sephora. And my daughter is like 12 and she's like, well, I'm too old for this. It's like 9-year-olds who hoard Sephora and buy all these things and they put it in TikTok. So there's definitely, a lot of push from social media, and they have so much information, and it's true, not maybe the right models, plus the stress of over information and whatever is happening in the world, all these channels constantly bombarded. The stress adds to that, mental health, and trying to look like Kardashians.
That's crazy because Drunk Elephant is hyaluronic acid, a lot of it, and that's not meant for,
I know. It's crazy.
9-year-old skin.
Yes, but that's like a trend on TikTok. So they all.
Oh, she's out. So Corey, what do you think?
Uh-oh.
We get technical difficulties tonight, don't we? Yeah, I agree with very much agree with them. Stress. It's stress. I do feel like you're seeing it with some of that generation, not all. It's the same with us. Like, Dave's talking about some of the people from his generation and how much he's looking younger, but there's still other ones that are his age that very much look his age. So, you can't, I don't think I can broadly say.
Drugs destroyed us.
What drugs?
No, not me. I mean, my generation.
Generation? Yeah,
drugs,
I was like,
yeah.
what drugs are you talking about?
No, they a lot of drugs.
Yeah, but so did you saw that in the 60s and 70s as well. But it's not like the drugs have disappeared either. And certainly not for the youth. We're talking what, 13, 14 to 17 and 18. But what I'm seeing though is like you're saying the stress.
No, not to 17, to like
The 20s.
25, 26.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just saying as far as what he's dealing with in his classes. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to be confusing with that. But it is very much stress. 100%. I think it's that anxiety and the stress and the worry. I think these are the things that age us the fastest. We're talking about this whole episode about anti-aging, and I think all that stuff can stress you so fast. And I think all of us that have been through stressful things can see how it can change our bodies and the way we look. And then, you get to a better time afterwards and you're glowing a little bit more. Things are you can see physically witness the effect on your body. And then when you start getting to that point where you're aging, it's an honor to end up with smile lines, in my opinion. So I do see the stress. I think it's not all social media, but I think social media is one of the biggest culprits, for sure, that causes that form of anxiety. That, and because they're hearing so much, oh, the world's gonna die in 12 years, and it's your parents screwed it up, and it's your responsibility to fix it. How do you tell that to kids that age? How do you, put all the responsibility of the world on their shoulders like that? With no real way to determine that they've been successful at it, right? We asked this of the greatest generation of the young youth that was going into World War II. We obviously asked a lot out of them. Yet when they walked away from it, there was at least the sense that we accomplished something. And so now there's a lot being asked of these young kids without any kind of clear, like, well, how do we know they were successful? How did, we can't say, oh, they saved the planet. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. Like for us, like saving the planet's cool. Let's all do our part. But this new generation, it's almost like each one of them feels this, they have to be the person that does everything. They have to worry about everything. When they think and talk about politics, it becomes, death, life or death with every little decision, everything they talk about. It's so high anxiety and stress. That's the only thing I can say accounts for it. And I'm not saying it's all of them, but I've seen a lot of it. There's a lot of guys on TikTok from Gen Z that are specifically pointing out, look how much older I look than my dad did or whatever, which is the exact opposite of what we've been doing. Like our dad at this age and our grandparents at that age, very different, So it's possible things go in roller coaster, they go in cycles. It's possible, but I think that it's very possible too that they could figure that out. And as they age, maybe some of that de-aging naturally will happen as they get a little wiser and stress a little less and realize you can't control it all. So maybe we'll see. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like this is sort of, I'm in the cusp here of Gen Z. And so I have a lot of friends who are definitely, solid Gen Zers. And I don't see it, but they're very, active. Their whole thing is beauty, they're influencers, models, etc. So I know a large group of people who look fantastic. So I don't think I personally see it, but I am also very unaware. Someone will tell me, oh, I lost 30 pounds. I'll be like, oh, I never thought you looked bad. Or, oh, I gained 10 pounds. I'll be like, I don't see it. So I may not be the person to come to for this, but if it is a real effect, I think it has to be the stress of the pandemic and the staying inside and the eating habits and just the whole lifestyle. It's like it was very tough for everyone. And I especially think people, like if they were in school, teenager, I feel really badly for kids that were, during that time.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. Those kids during COVID, I say it all the time, they got screwed. I couldn't imagine being in junior high or high school and, having to be stuck in my house for 2 years, So, yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it definitely added a lot to it.
Yeah.
Hey,
anyway,
Gina's
guys,
back.
thank you. Oh, you do you have anything else to say?
I think I'm good. I think, the internet shut me down. It was like, TikTok, they overheard me talking, they shut me down.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much. This was a great show. And yeah, let's be healthy.
All right.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.